quietly respectful of it to you?
I'll take questions real quickly, but we had what I thought was a solid and productive discussion about issues involving Medicaid expansion. I appreciate the speaker and the caucus's time and engaged question and answer. I spoke for a few minutes, but the majority of the time, the vast majority of time, was spent in an open and good dialogue, and I appreciate that. One of the things I focused on was making sure that that as we move forward, if there's things we can do to improve, reform the Medicaid system of the state, that there were 5 tranches of areas that I thought that we should think seriously about working together on. First is to protect taxpayers. Obviously, putting a trigger or a sunset in the bill that says that the 100% dollars, once that ends, then we have an ability to, if the federal government doesn't live up to its commitments, not put us in a bind fiscally. I think we also had a chance to talk about the second tranche, which is what I refer to as personal responsibility. Whether it's co-pays for folks, or penalties for folks that miss appointments, or making sure that we're not having folks access health care in the most expensive place possible, emergency rooms, by having costs there. The third thing is market-based, whether it's a model that looks similar to some of the things that are going on in Arkansas, with the proposal there to have some private insurance block, but a market-based system that gets competition involved. Lower costs and better care, whether it's coordinating care better, equalizing the reimbursements between Medicare and Medicaid. And then the last piece of reform is making sure we're rewarding work, that we have ladders inside this system, not cliffs, so that somebody doesn't say, well, if I make $1 more, then I lose my health care. Instead, we design a system that rewards work, and especially. And then I had good discussions about the issues involving mental health that I think are so important in the opportunities that we face here. But it was a good, thoughtful discussion. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Governor, is there a bill out there already that you could see being a vehicle that you would eventually support, whether it's Jay Barnes or another piece?
I think that the work done by Representative Barnes in that committee is a solid step forward. I think that appears to be a leading vehicle, and quite frankly, the one folks are focused on to be the centerpiece of both discussion and progress. And I think that bill contains many of the reforms I talk about, and we'd like to see that vehicle continue to move forward.
It's 100% rather than 133, 138. Can you live with 100%?
The challenge is that the federal government cannot. I mean, Secretary Sebelius has been very clear that the Medicaid piece has to get you to 138. How you get there and the market-based reforms to get you there, I think, is a good area for discussion. And I think everybody's aware of that, and I look forward to, as we move through the process, working together on getting a model to get to that federal required number.
6.5 weeks, is that enough time to get where you want to get?
6.5 weeks ago, they hadn't even dribbled the first basketball in the NCAA tournament. We're going to have a championship game next Monday night. We're not even halftime of the legislative session yet, guys. I mean, we got plenty of time.
Governor, did you specifically talk about the difference between 100 and 138% with the Republican caucus?
We didn't have any significant. I wouldn't want to characterize anything they said or what I say. I'm characterizing what I said. I think everybody in the room is. I did clearly state that models got to get to 138, and that there are ways to get there that aren't just in essence an expansion of the current system, or some market-based reforms that can involve private insurance, can involve other things. So I think that it was a good and thoughtful discussion in that area, and I think one in which there's a lot of folks that are looking at ways to get there.
Do you see having future discussions like this with the caucus?
I think that I think that you're now into a process. I mean, I wanted to have this discussion with them at this point, and I appreciate the speaker and the leadership welcoming me there to do that. I thank them very much for their for that. But no, I don't think you do bills in this building by governors going to caucuses all the time. I mean, I think that you have to respect the processes in place, and there are plenty of committees, and there's plenty of members really focused on these issues. And while I'll continue my communication to members on a regular basis I have on this issue, I don't think that going to caucus all the time is the best method to do that.
Have you
One of the
offered to
things that
talk
they're-
to the caucus before, and if not, why'd you wait so long to do that?
You know, this, once again, I don't want to, what our confidence is other than, you know, we thought, you know, obviously working with leadership, that we thought this might be productive to continue the discussion. And so I said, let's do it. You know, it's not a regular occurrence for any governor, and quite frankly, caucuses are generally where they do a lot of their important business. So, you know, I think it was a very productive session, a good session, and I appreciate them, you know, having me.
Governor, you have seemed to develop a pretty good relationship with House Speaker Tim Jones. He has noted that he sat next to you at the table at dinner last week. Are you developing, or what with anything with the Senate along the same lines? Do you intend to do what you did today with the Republican Senate caucus?
First of all, I respect Speaker Jones' work, and we have had we are able to communicate. He, like me, comes from a family of very strong women, and we constantly bond on that point. I think that the speaker has, you know, we've been able to communicate very directly, very, you know, professionally, respectfully, and it's the kind of direct relationship that I think that separates us from a lot of what's going on in other states and up in D.C. I mean, I don't, you know, I didn't need to, you know, and so I look forward to continuing to do that. As far as the Senate, you know, the Senate's a little different animal than the House. I mean, in the sense that there's fewer of them, and you have a chance for a lot more individual interaction with senators, and consequently, I've sat down with, I mean, I'd say innumerable, but there's only 34, so you get innumerable kind of overstates it. But I've sat down with a number of them, had thoughtful discussions about these issues, and we'll continue to do that. Whether or not a discussion at a caucus is productive or not, you know, like I say, we're talking to these folks pretty much all the time in a number of forums, and you know, I think we're making progress there also.
One of the things that Barnes' bill does is reduce coverage for some children through the CHIPS program. You've expressed opposition to that before. Are you open to any reductions there?
That did not come up in our discussions here in the session we just had. I laid out in the past that I didn't think that the best path forward was to limit access to kids or to limit access to pregnant women. I think that the prenatal care part of that is pretty important. That did not come up in our session here, and I still feel like those are not the best path forward for us. But there are, once again, if you get into a market-based piece of this with some private insurance, there's some ways to handle it. But I think kids, I just quite frankly believe that you know, that there's nothing a 7-year-old can do to go pick up their lunch bucket and go to the mines and make money and then drive down to the local insurance agency and figure out how much of that they should spend on getting health insurance. I mean, kids are different for me. I mean, kids, we should do what we can to make sure kids have coverage. Now, that contained within that is making sure that we have responsibility for those parents with those kids. And I think there are a lot of things we can do there. And in that zone, I think there are some things to do to work. And that's one of the reasons I talked about this personal responsibility issue. I mean, and so bottom line is, while I have some, as I said before, I have some areas where I don't agree with exactly what was the original version. I do think they may have additional versions coming out even as the day goes on. So you got a kind of a little bit of a moving target there. But we've had productive discussions on that issue.
Speaker Jones has said that
Coming out of the
I gotta get
caucus
some
meeting,
questions.
coming out of the caucus meeting, are you more optimistic, less optimistic, or about the same that a bill could get through this session?
Under the Three Bears analysis, the porridge is a little warmer. You know, but you know, but you know, we got work to do. We got a lot of work to do, and we're a heck of a long way from the finish line in the sense of moving forward. But you know, yesterday was a good day, and today's been a good day. I mean, yesterday we had an opportunity to speak with hundreds of mental health folks over at the Crider Center and the Development Stability Board. I thought, you know, that the speaker laying out in a written form his thoughts yesterday was a productive step in that sense, and I think the work being done by the committee with Representative Barnes are steps that have potential, but we've got work to do.
Governor, I want to make sure I understand where we are. 138% in your mind is an absolute.
In the federal government, I mean, the Secretary of Health and Human Services says whatever model, whatever reforms you got to get, the federal law is passed under the Affordable Care Act, has to get an option for additional health care coverage at 138. So how you get there, you know, could be a little bit of an art, but you know, and so yeah, you've got to get to that. Now, like I said, there's lots of ways to do it. I mean, Arkansas has decided to use the exchange. There are ways you can do it in a private healthcare model. There's lots of ways to get there. But I think that the law has passed, and quite frankly, the dollars of this. I mean, when you back out the disproportionate share dollars, when you do what you can, under the requisite. But no, you got to in one fashion or another get to 138.
So you're open to all these other things they want to do, but they have to get to 138.
And I think that clearly the Secretary and the federal government and federal law says 138 is what that number is, and you know, I think that's when you look at this deal nationally, you know, and you see the other states that are moving forward, an Ohio with a Republican governor, a New Jersey with a Republican governor, an Arizona with Republican governor. You see those states. Some of those are higher than we are now. So the dollars, as far as the ultimate, just 138 is the agreed upon number when it was passed, and that number has not changed.
And conversely, anything that's not at 138% is asking you to veto.
Well, I mean, I hate to come out of what I thought was a productive meeting and use any words to start with V, whether it's and consequently, I don't draw those lines. When we have good productive discussions, when bills are moving forward that contain within them good solid reforms, my obligation and my responsibility, I think, especially on an issue of this great import, is to work directly with those members to educate them as to what the requirements are, and to work forward towards getting these improvements, reforms, in a way that meets the requirements of the federal law.
Moving to a market-based model, are you convinced that it will lower costs and improve care for people?
I think there are ways to do it that will. I think you have to be careful how to do it. I mean, I think that just saying, buy insurance instead of work through a system where we have good cost controls, in its simplistic piece, won't do it. But I do think there are ways to get market power working towards driving costs down, and that the private insurance market is one area that can provide some serious help there.
Last question.
Governor, your Department of Revenue delivered on the subpoena from the Senate Appropriations Committee yesterday with 16 boxes of paperwork that the senators say is disorganized. Let's get to the basic question. Is the Department of Revenue implementing the Federal Real ID Act with the new driver's license system?
I really don't think they are. Like I say, I really don't think they are in any way, shape, or form. I do think it's important that I think there's a lot of loose language going on out there in the whole thing, but I'm not involved in it, so it's not a small deal. I do think it's important to look at the principles involved here, and the principles are that you want the driver's license to be a document that's correct. You want that to be a document that's current, and there are a lot of reasons for that. Not the least of which is many laws that have been passed in this building and signed by governors, not only me, but many before, to make sure that, that folks that are involved in daycare don't have certain problems in their background, that folks who work in nursing homes don't have certain problems in their background, and whatnot, all that sort of stuff. So I think there's a legitimate reason, but I've not gotten into the details on this other than to say that no, we're not moving forward on trying to implement Real ID. I signed a measure directly on that, and we're following the law that I signed.
The Department of Homeland Security website indicates Missouri has filed a compliance package.
I spend a lot of time doing a lot of things, reading what federales say about us on websites. It's certainly not one of them.
You say you're not involved, Senator Dempsey hopes that you will get involved.
Oh.
Do you?
I'm working on this, guys. I mean, some sort of, my golly. This Department of Revenue in this state of Missouri is not collecting a bunch of unuseful data to send to some sort of magical database someplace to mess with people. It's not happening, okay? We're at a time in which a lot of people like to have a lot of discussions about that and play into folks' concerns about this and that, and then throw around names and all that sort of stuff, but they're just not doing it. I mean, you know that and I know that. And the time we should be spending is spending on the issue that I was just working on, which is not an issue which is the issue at forefront, where we have a limited time to get it accomplished, that deals with, I mean, if we don't move forward to spend these 100% federal dollars, the same way we do with highway money, the same way we do with Title I and Title IV money in education, the same way we do with Pell Grants for our kids going to school, if instead we spend our time on other stuff right now and miss this opportunity to reform and improve Medicaid, and starting in January, every single Missourian, man, woman, and child, takes $300 out of their pocket and sends it to Washington, D.C., and they allow that money to be spent to improve and reform Medicaid in other states, and we miss that opportunity, that's a big thing to miss. I mean, if people, and so my focus on this is not, my focus is placed here for the right reasons, because we have, as you said, I believe in an earlier question, we have a limited amount of time to get this done, and I'm going to continue to focus on the things that I think Missourians are most interested in, which is moving forward. I mean, it's been an interesting process here for me over this last 2.5 months as I've traveled the state and met with leaders around the state, to see the movement forward on this issue, so I plan on continuing to move forward on the issue. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.